going on, guys? Today we're going to talk about how a civilian should set up their rifle, or what rifle to choose. Assuming you already choose an AR, I'm not going to go over the AK today because I'm very new to it, and well, it's not my go-to gun. Got another AR in here as well, but not a go-to gun. We're going to be talking about my 10.5 and how a civilian should set up their gun. We're going to go over how a dumb civilian sets up his 10.5. This could be, a 16-inch gun or, any length. It doesn't matter just how I set it up, how you may want to set it up. But just because you're a civilian or I'm a civilian doesn't mean you don't need certain things. If you think you need night vision, get night vision. If you think you need a Geisley rail, get a Geisley rail. You think you need a suppressor, get a suppressor. There's no one that can tell you that you don't need certain things because you're a civilian. Go ahead and get all the Gucci gear. With that said, let's just go over the most important things I feel that are what you need when you get a gun set up like this. Number one, as soon as you buy your gun, get yourself a sling. It's the most important thing. It should come with guns. I don't know why they don't just come with them, but get yourself a sling the same day you buy your rifle. You want your gun attached to you, you want to be able to sling it, you want to be able to have control of it. Get a sling first. Another first important upgrade you should spend money on is a light. It doesn't have to be a Surefire, it can be a Streamlight rail mount. They're like 120 bucks and they come with a pressure pad, even though I don't like pressure pads or wires on my gun. But you don't have to get a Surefire, but make sure you get a quality light because a lot of bad things happen at night. That's when you're most likely to use something like this. So before you get a red dot or a nice trigger, get a good weapon light and practice using it. I'm running a little Surefire Mini Scout. It's awesome. Again, I don't like pressure pads. Unless I'm going to be running an IR laser, then I'll probably run a pressure pad for the light or a dual pressure pad. But when I'm just running a light, I just simply like, manual authority, just pressing the button on the tail cap. So yeah, I don't like wires because I've had wires rip on me before. Hence why the Streamlight wires are not on there. It's just a tail cap now. So that's just my setup. It's just a little Surefire. Rocking on a Arisaka mount as well. It's my favorite mount for these. Kind of want the Mod Light mod button, but they're never in stock. And on this go-to gun, this is, again, my go-to gun. So I'm going to have my go-to shit on here, my Aimpoint Comp M4. Now, if you can't afford an expensive optic, there are options like Holosun. I run those. I've been running that one for like 3 years. I've been running Holosun in general for like 4 or 5 years. Love Holosun. They're great for the money. But if you can't afford it, get a quality optic. I'm choosing the Aimpoint Comp M4. This is kind of like a guilty pleasure optic for me. I saw in a some German picture in the military, they had these on their guns. I was like, is that Aimpoint? And I was like, man, that thing is huge and all it is a red dot. I want it. It looks so cool. So yeah, I mean, these used are about the same price as a Neotech, but it's just kind of a guilty pleasure thing. I literally bought it because I thought it was cool and it's an Aimpoint. I know it's gonna work. So that's what I'm running on my 10.5. I mean, it has a super, super long battery life, just like these do, but this one's a little bit longer. But this is more expensive, so, you have to choose what you can afford. And, I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't afford, but, saving up money is nice to get something you like and it's going to work than just buying the cheapest thing you can find. But Holosun's not the cheapest thing you can find. They're great optics. But on this guy, I'm running the Comp M4, favorite red dot. I've used the Trijicon MRO and EOTech, and I actually prefer the Aimpoint over, especially the MRO. I hated the MRO. Sorry if you have an MRO. I don't run backup iron sights because, again, when you have nice optics, you really don't need to worry about that. Also, I'm civilian, not really worried about my optic going down. So, yeah, I just run the Aimpoint Comp M4, no backup irons. So now that we got the optic and the light and the sling out of the way, which in my opinion are the most important things. And again, you don't just have to have those things. If you're saying, hey, I need a Geisley rail, I need an IR laser, you're goddamn right you need it. I don't care if you're a civilian, you need what you need. You need what you want. But let's talk about barrel length and why I chose 10.5 and why you probably might not want one. So depending on where you live, maybe you're in the mountains. I used to live in Tennessee, up in the mountain area. and a 16-inch was great because, you know, and it's the magnification. But for me personally, I'm in a suburban area. I'm kind of in like the city area, so I don't really need magnification. I really don't need a gun to perform after like 25 yards. So the 10.5 is just easier to move around in vehicles. This is like my little, you know, passenger seat gun that sits there. So it's just better to move around in small areas and mostly vehicles. So I just chose a 10.5. I like it. It looks cool. It's not too short. I've taken out to 200 yards, which is pretty much mid-range, not really long range. Performed just fine. But if you're someone that's, you know, planning on bugging out into the woods, you might want to go with, you know, a 16-inch barrel or maybe a 13.7 pinned. I mean, it's up to you. I mean, your area and conditions and all those things are going to change how you set up your gun. But for someone that lives kind of in the city, more in the suburbs kind of area, a shorter gun just makes more sense for me. There is no bugging out in this area. You're kind of just setting up your house and fortifying it for whatever crazy scenario you want to play in your fantasies. So that's why I chose the 10.5, because I'm never going to find myself in those areas where there's, you know, 200 yards of, you know, space. It's all pretty, you know, close buildings and all those things. So this just makes sense to me. And again, this is, you know, a passenger seat gun. I just keep it right there, ready to roll. So that's why I chose 10.5. And you could basically pick, I mean, have multiple setups. I mean, the AK is at 16-inch. That's a 7.5, but I built that out of, you know, spare parts. I don't actually use that gun. But, you know, just think about your area, what you plan on doing with it, what your bug out plans are if you're into that. And that's kind of where you'll start from the barrel length. That's kind of where that shines. Because this probably wouldn't be great out in the woods, you know, with 300 yards of range. That is pretty much the end of the discussion. The whole point of this is, you know, get a light, get a good optic, get a sling, and set the gun up however you want with those items, but make sure you have those items. And just because you're a civilian doesn't mean you can't run IR lasers or expensive equipment. You have the freedom to own this shit, so own it. You need all the gear, all the Gucci gear. If you're a dumb civilian, you need night vision. I mean, if you think that you need that stuff, then you need it, and you have the right to buy it, so go out and buy it. And yeah, that's kind of just the point of this video, and just going over some little gun porn, a little 10.5 porn. There's an AK too. I don't really like it that much, but we'll see. But that's pretty much it for the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed checking it out. Maybe it wanted you to buy something that's on this gun, or maybe reconfigure your rifle or 10.5, but it's really hot in this garage, so I'm gonna end the video now and enjoy your day. Have a happy 4th of July tomorrow. Be safe, drink a lot of White Claws.